Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about today's series. Anyone's Legend just cooked them. I think the positives of Bilibili, if anything, is that finally Bin played some of his unique champions. He finally got 50 CS leads on Jax and Fiora. That was nice to see. I think that Anyone's Legends draft strategy was super smart. The Bard Wukong in the 4-5, they gave themselves, like, they could always recognize which tools they needed to find. I think that in terms of champion pool, Anyone's Legends is crazy. I think the amount of pairings they can play with jungle and support is insanely impressive, and Shank's pool just goes so damn deep. I think currently Shanks is just by far the best performing mid lane, and I think if anything, if AO is going to find a way to win this tournament, which is insanely hard from the lower bracket and to beat Genji, it is because of how well Shanks is performing, and how poorly currently Chovy and Faker are performing. Chovy by his standards, and like Chovy is making mistakes that he wouldn't do over in the LCK. I think you can even go so far to say that Chovy is maybe the weakest performer on his team. But one series at a time. Anyone's Legend. I think in this one, Bilibili just play champions they're not comfortable with. Azir, Corki on AD. Like Anyone's Legend just out team fought them, even though they gave away a couple of advantages to Jax. It was a nice swap that Bilibili did. In game 2, Anyone's Legend just won skirmishes. Beishuan looked very, very uncomfortable here. Like Bilibili have gone through so much turmoil with switching up their players and so forth, and they never seem to have figured out any real concepts in the game that they can recreate. So that's tough to see. But Anyone's Legend, the Rise win streak continues. The Lucian Braum angle, and then the Ezreal lock-in. I feel like Elf's champion pool is a little bit dated for this tournament. Like he keeps leaning on champions that are not the strongest. In game 3, it's very clear that Bilibili is just trying to throw something on the wall with the Fiora Akali angle. Not the greatest Akali game. Very weak Vi game. I think that's at least cool from Bilibili's side. Fiora, I think, is good into Vi Gwen showing because the matchup is good into Gwen, but obviously pulling off a Fiora is very difficult. And if you make mistakes in fights and you're not like giga sharp, like Bin did in a couple of scenarios, then of course it's rough. It was a comeback play where Hope got caught on the Sivir, which is tricky. But there's that, I think this series, Bilibili, very clear that they were the 4th best, team at this tournament. They were the worst, LCK LPL team, like everybody predicted. I don't think anyone's surprised by their demise. And that's it, that's it. Let's dedicate the majority of this to discussing AL versus T1. So I think the scary part about T1 is that they're very capable of playing fast. They're very snappy with their engages. I think mechanically they have really good execution on engages too, which is very different from today. AL sometimes do slip up, and I think that AL and T1 are going to invite skirmishes really, really heavily. I think the main advantages AL have, which might sound crazy, is I think they just are effective on more champions in jungle, in mid, in AD. It's just that the edge T1 have in draft, if anything, is Keria can go rather deep, Kale can too, but Doran is capable of playing carries in a very good way. So there's that. I think the T1 team fight very, very well, but I do think that they are a little bit more limited in the way they draft. I think there are certain things that are necessary. I think especially for Faker, he's playing like the mages, and sometimes you need more team fighting firepower from mid lane. And I think that currently Faker is just drafting mages to stabilize lane, which is something that works. I do think that Owner looks the best when he has initiative and a way to carry the game and a way to play through him, but I don't think it's that super easy against Tarzan in particular. I think that T1, even in this game 5 here, right, they ran out of steam in terms of what to pick and not to pick. I think the main concern for me is, I think Faker, after he has a couple of champions out of the pool, I think it gets a lot harder for him. I think a key detail and the difference between the T1 Bilibili series and AL, obviously AL is much better, but also, Anyone's Legend can actually contest for the Azir because Shanks is really insane on it, and they have ways to open up and actually break down the pool of Faker because he can compete and contest his pool and really cut into it. Shanks is a great Orianna as well. Azir has an Orianna as well. And I think there's that, you know. T1 though, I do think that they are very scary to play against because they move on the map very fast. They are very, very sharp together on playing on tempo. I think that Owner and Keria as a duo is very vicious, but I think that, you know, the same can be said for Anyone's Legend. I think there's a lot of things that are pointing to Anyone's Legend being favored, but I do think that T1, like, there are moments when the pressure gets higher, the intangibles are so easily measurable when it comes to T1, and I think that matters. I think that, for example, individually, I think that like Tarzan is comparable and better than Owner with what he's seen so far. I think that Shanks has played much better than Faker at this tournament so far. I think Doran, I think, has had a fantastic tournament. I don't give a damn. Like, people are going to say, well, he engaged and then they lost the game 5. I don't care. Like, he played insane that whole series. Like, I think Doran's been fucking tremendous. Doran has been fantastic. I think Keria has been really good too. I think Kael started slow, but he got better and better over time. I think Hope has been fantastic as well. I think Guma plays stable, you know? He plays stable. I think Guma is very stable. But I haven't seen like a game yet where the game was won or broken or decided by something that Gumayushi did. I think that he plays stable and he is very relevant, you know? But I have not been wowed by anything that Gumayushi has offered, really, you know? Like that Koki game, he did a lot of good damage, good DPS, but like the highlight reel of Ruler and Hope as well is just way better, you know? They have stepped up to the plate and carried, and I think that Gumayushi is a very, very stable presence for the team, but I don't think he's been like incredible in terms of stepping up to the plate, you know? Because I do think that T1 right now, their biggest weapons are in Doran, in Keria, and also in Owner. I think that Gumayushi is just a stable force, and that's where we're at, you know? Just a stable force. I wouldn't say with ease that Gumayushi is better than Hope. I think that Gumayushi is just, as I mentioned, plays very, very stable games, finds ways to get his gold while his teammates does what he want to do. And that's not like a negative, you know? That's not a negative. It's just that Gumayushi is more of a role player on the current version of T1. And being that gives space to, of course, you know, players like Keria and Owner to perform. You know, you can't have only heroes on this team. I think Gumayushi is a great player, but he plays a stable game. I think his role is very different to like I think Hope can play in and out of many different roles. Like he can drop a Sivir game, a Kaiser game, you know, and he can play the Varus and the Jin and so forth. That of course Gumayushi loves to play too. I think T1, their lifeblood currently is in the 3 other players that I mentioned. I think the main thing for Faker, I think that he scales in the game over time. I think that he struggles with playing around ganks, but I think that the mages allows him to have a lot of wave control, which puts him in fine positions, and he can actually, you know, freeze the wave in front of the tower, which I think is huge. But playing these champions also makes you a lot weaker in the team fights, you know? So currently, T1 is the only team that has such a deep focus on mages, where you have players even like Chovy playing Annie, right? Because the meta is revolved around engage and very skirmish heavy gameplay, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic kind of pans out. Very interesting to see how the dynamic pans out. Because Shanks can compete with Faker on the same champion pool, or maybe they just ignore it altogether and just commit to this identity of team fighting. I think everything like everything rational right now around AL in terms of their form and in terms of what they are playing. Seems better to me. But T1, they have a way of, playing their best series of the year in the next one. The intangibles, usually like the definition of intangibles is something, a force that is hard to measure, a skill set that is hard to measure, How do you put a point on clutchness, Just T1 has gone through this year, in my opinion, where the Bilibili series was the best league I've seen all year from them. And then the Genji series was some of the best league I've seen all year from them. And maybe they can maintain that, And I think the exhausting thing about playing against T1 is that I don't think that they are allowing themselves to be defeated within the game. Bilibili allowed themselves to be defeated in the game, right? G2 and other teams, like they are defeated in the game. It's almost as if they admit that they are worse. T1, you need to beat many, many times and not give them opportunities. And my gut feeling tells me, anyone's legend, take it to 3-2. But I think it will be very close. Very, very close. I think Shanks has just simply, he has exceeded my expectations coming into this tournament. Shanks has really, really exceeded my expectations. And I really believe in the Tabe magic. I believe in the Tabe magic. I think Shanks has just been unbelievable. Shanks has been unbelievable this tournament. Don't Faker and Shanks share same champion pool except Aurora? Yeah, I don't know. I think Faker wants to play Orianna, like Azir, Orianna, Victor, Silas. It's always hard to judge because before yesterday, I didn't think he wants to play Talia, and then he slammed Talia, right, and played it, and it was one of their wins. Ari is very weak. They didn't have big prio on Rise, but in regional split, they had big prio on Rise. They had prio on Annie, and then it shifts. It seems as if, Faker has recognized that he needs to play something that is more lane dominant. That's what it seems, Because it's not a question, it's the same. Owner knows how to play Sejuani, but does it work in the context of his team? I don't think so. You have to keep in mind, even though you're playing something and can be good individually on something, that is still, a question to be answered, Doran is currently top 3 players in the world, in my opinion. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I feel like Doran's been very good. I think still I would put probably Keen's performance above Doran if I look at the whole tournament. But I can't put him above Shanks. I can't put him above Ruler, example. I can't put him above Tarzan. But Doran has had a fantastic tournament. But top 3, I think, is a big ask. We've had some insane performance. Even a player like Inspired has been absolutely crazy in how he's played. Ruler was decent against Hope, I think. Yeah, I feel bad for Doran. I already mentioned it in the previous rundown. I feel very bad for Doran because I do believe that he was insane in yesterday's series. And people are going to look at that engage he did on mid and say this is his fault, But I think that's a joke, I think Doran's been the second best top laner, yeah. I would say so. I would put Flounder third. I think Doran has shown a very good range of play. There's also a lot of demons to be slayed here, guys, Tarzan got branded an international choker because of his performance against T1 in 2023 Worlds. 2023 Worlds, he got branded a choker because that was one disgusting series from Tarzan after LNG had a very, very successful summer split. Hope got cooked by Gumayushi Keria in a Lucian Nami meta at Worlds when he played for JDG before he got replaced by Ruler. There's a lot of demons to be conquered here. Nah, Keen has had a better tournament than he played in LCK. I thought in LCK he played kind of just fine, but I think Keen in the series against anyone's legend, like, please don't forget this series. This series right here, Keen was God tier. God tier. Don't forget about this. And even in the T1 series, like, even though I think Doran had a better series, if I would score it, like a 9 to maybe Keen's 8, Genji, he still had a solid Gwen game. He had a fucking insane Cassandra game. Like, this Cassandra game was insane. I think the Poppy game was pretty bad, but it just seemed like he was forced to play Poppy in a shit Poppy game because Canyon wanted to play Zed. So it's like, even then, you know, even then. Keen is Genji's best performing player by far. I think by far is a stretch. I think Canyon and Duro have had a crazy good tournament. Crazy good tournament from Duro and Canyon. So by far is a stretch. Because Duro and Canyon have been insane, I think. In this best of 5 they were insane, and also in this best of 5 they were insane against AO. Chovy is still doing well. I think Chovy is still the 3rd best performing mid laner at this tournament, but he's quite far from the dominant Chovy that we knew in Korea, you know? Duro has been more consistent than Canyon, yes, but Canyon has had way higher highs. Like, Canyon has done some crazy shit at this tournament. Like, crazy, crazy shit. Like, absolutely nuts. 3rd, who's 2nd? Unironically, Hongkyu. And then Shanks 1st. I don't think Faker outperformed Chovy yesterday, and that was a bad series for Chovy. Is there an argument for Shanks being the best player at MSI? Yeah, there is. Like, best performing player, yeah. I think it's hard to call someone the best player. Faker draws a lot of attention. I don't know. It's weird. It's like, I'm a big Faker fan, you know. I fell in love in Faker's gameplay 2013. I think his era of dominance from 2013 to 2017 is something that nobody's going to attest to, or no one's going to come close. I think some of the shit he pulled last year at Worlds was simply incredible, but his volume of game, you know, over the span of a whole year, he's never been the best player for the last couple of years, you know, ever since the introduction of Chovy and Showmaker, and that's fine, But I do think that people go very, very far to say attribute random things to Faker in game to justify whatever he does or whatever he gets, you know. And I feel bad for Faker, you know, because I do think in a world, you know, he had Easy Hoon and Scout by his side in his years when he was insane. But now, when he has injury and he needs to rest more, like, why doesn't he have a Scout or an Easy Hoon now? Now is the time to do it. Like, now he needs one of these guys to play like the regular split for him, like the first 3 weeks, where he can rest and take it easy. My man is streaming. My man is competing. Like, my man is fucking, his wrist is turning into powder. Because every time, like, at Worlds, he performs well again. And it's like, it's obvious when, like, in spring split, he always opens so strong. Or in winter, he opens strong. It's like, wow, Faker, he's performing so well in LCK. And then it's always like after a period of a break, you know. I worry about the man. But nevertheless, like, what if he doesn't want sub player and want to be starter? Yeah, I could see that angle too, you know? It's like a player like Faker, I could imagine he just wants to play and win fucking everything. Like, I can see that too. He's a competitor after all. But it is sad that we lost games of Faker where they played Easy Hoon when Faker was in his prime. And that to me is sad. And then now when he needs backup, he doesn't have backup. And that to me is sad. Wasn't Faker a bad Aussie during Easy Hoon days? That shit is really overblown. I don't know. Fans and using the term choking. They don't even know. All right. Yeah, my brain is telling me 3-2 AL, but my heart is telling me it's gonna be fucking crazy tomorrow. T1 pull shit out of crazy directions. People predicting T1, I know where it's coming from. You know? Because it's either this. It's like, do you believe in the intangibles of T1? You predict T1. Do you believe in the form of Tarzan, Shanks, and Tabe drafting and all this jazz? You know? Then AL win. It's just, are you predicting with your mind or your heart? Because in this case, I will say both can be right. Both can be right. Put T1 there. And I had the same argument then. I think AL has shown better gameplay. But I think T1 are just very tough to beat, bro. Yeah, obviously. You don't need to point out. FlyQuest, I would move them to the left here, and Koi, I would move them down one step. But my CFO call ended up good. I think CFO versus FlyQuest would be so fucking fun.